It's a Mailbag Monday. Which teams will give Boston the most trouble? What's the state of the rivalry with the Lakers? How do they handle an expansion draft, theoretically? And which is the best C's podcast out there? I bet you know what I'm going to say. Maybe. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and I'm here for you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next few weeks. Then at the end of September, we fire it back up 5 days a week, and then when the season starts, sometimes 6, maybe even 7 days a week, because post-game podcasts after every game this season. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. Follow the show on YouTube, watch the show, hop into the comment section, let me know what you're thinking. I'm John Karalis. I used to play, now I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal, and today it's a Mailbag Monday, so we're covering a lot of things, including I got asked which is the best C's podcast. I got to compare and contrast between a competitor. No problem, I can do that. How would the Celtics handle an expansion draft? Talk about that in a few minutes. The Lakers rivalry, interesting timing with that, with the new Winning Time show on HBO. They're really taking an aggressive marketing campaign, I can tell you that much. Kristaps Porzingis injury. But let's just dive into the first question here. Oh, by the way, a couple of things. If you want to submit a question, johnkaralis.com/mailbag. If you're watching on YouTube, it's right there. johnkaralis.com/mailbag. That's the best way for me to get your questions. If you tweet them or anything else, I'll just lose track. So johnkaralis.com/mailbag. Today's show brought to you by Birddogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA. Enter the promo code LockedOnNBA for a free white tech hat with any purchase. You will not want to take your Birddogs off. We promise you that. All right, mailbag. Tons of questions. I'm going to try to squeeze a lot of questions in here just because I didn't do a Mailbag Monday last week. I did 3 on my vacation week. So let's just do it. Dave says, with all the turmoil in Philly, is there any chance that the Celtics could get their hands on Embiid if he asks out? Hey, if that question sounds familiar, it's because I did get that mailbag question. I include this to say, hey, this is your opportunity to go back, scroll back through the feed or on the YouTube page, go into that videos tab and scroll down. There's a tab right there. Could the Celtics trade for Embiid? To sum up my answer there, possibly, but I doubt it. But go back and listen. This is why you should be an everydayer. You should be a Monday through Friday or Monday, Wednesday, Friday listener. But you got to get in there every day because a lot of these questions get answered. So thank you, Dave, for allowing me to plug the podcast even more. Kate, I was wondering, what teams do you think would give us trouble, the most trouble this season? Any lower rated teams that could match up well and give Boston trouble? Well, let's look down there in the East, and 2 teams jump out at me, and they're 2 teams that have historically given the Celtics some problems. I'm looking at Orlando, and I'm looking at Detroit, actually. Cade Cunningham, let's start with Detroit. Cade Cunningham is said to have had some real impressive moments in that Team USA training camp and has been just impressive there. So if he's willing to take a step forward leadership-wise, grow as a player and become that real franchise player, Detroit, they're just tough. They've got a lot of tough players, and I feel like for a team, they won 17 games last year. Now, I don't know if they're going to win many more than that this year, but they can be, if they put a few things together, they could be one of those dangerous teams again. Remember a couple of seasons ago, they gave the Celtics some real problems. And the other team is the Orlando Magic, that I think my 2 teams to really watch for this year. The Oklahoma City Thunder, that's a popular choice. They were 40-42 last year. They get Chet Holmgren I say back, but they never really had him. But he's going to be in. I think he could be Rookie of the Year. I feel like with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, with that supporting cast, there's a lot there. They have a lot of work to do, but I think the Thunder can be a playoff team this year, just like I think Orlando has a real opportunity to squeak into the playoffs. Now, they might have to do it through the play-in tournament, but I think Orlando has a real choice. I'm a believer in Paolo Banchero, and I think that this is a team that, with Franz Wagner, I think they have some real strong potential. And we saw last season, they gave the Celtics a ton of problems. And I just feel like that's something that we can look to moving forward. If we just want to scroll up from the standings from last year, Charlotte, I don't know about them. Washington, Indiana's going to be good. Indiana could be a team that I think they have the potential to be in that play-in potential playoff mix. Toronto, I'm just not sure about. Chicago, I don't like what they're doing. Miami has obviously a potential to be good, especially if they get Damian Lillard. I'm not a real big believer in the Hawks. Brooklyn can be a problem. And then you start getting into the better teams. New York, they played well last year. I think if they can carry some of that over, they're obviously going to be tough. They're big, physical. And then all the other teams in the East there, Cleveland, Philly, Milwaukee, is going to be some version of good. Philly, obviously, depending on what the hell happens with the James Harden stuff. But I'm looking at that bottom of the standings there. Orlando and Detroit really stand out to me as teams that can give Boston a ton of trouble. Joe says, hey, John. Hey, Joe. With regards to the in-season tourney, is there any information of the 83rd game will go towards the regular season record? Is it possible it could be a tiebreaker for seeding, giving a team a half-game advantage against another team it would otherwise be tied with at the end of the season? Could be another incentive for guys to take it seriously. As far as I know, that 83rd game is going to be treated almost like a play-in tournament game. It's not going to exist statistically. It's going to be a separate thing. In fact, I think the two tournament games will be. I think one of them will. I'm not sure statistically how that's going to go, but I don't think the 83rd, I don't think that championship game is going to count. It's going to be an 83rd game, but I don't think that's going to count for anything in the standings necessarily. So if Boston ends up playing, I don't know, Dallas in the championship game there in the midseason tournament, or in-season tournament, I should say, I don't think if Boston wins and they end up tied with Milwaukee on the last game of the season, Boston doesn't get the first seed because they won the play-in tournament. You'd go to the head-to-head first and go through the normal tie-breaking process. Pretty sure that's how it's going to go. So, but man, if you got that extra game in your hand, in your pocket, and you said, hey, if you are tied and you got that extra game, that could be the number one tiebreaker. Winner of the in-season tournament gets that first tiebreaker. Hey, that could be incentive. I don't think the NBA wants to have playoffs necessarily impacted by that, right? Like, just because you won a few regular season games in December, what does that have to do with playoff seeding? But I guess the counter argument is it's just that's you pile up the wins. The wins in December count as much as any other win. And when you have 57 of them, if two teams have 57 of them, you got to break the tie somehow. So if Boston really has 58 because of the in-season tournament, you go back and forth here. It's not going to count this year, but who knows what they do moving forward. Aaron asks, are you more excited for the winner of the NBA in-season tournament or the next winner of the NBA belt? Obviously, the NBA belt. That's my number one, because I have resurrected the NBA belt following the NBA belt. People have done it, and I think people still might do it in some reaches of the NBA, the internet. But I, over the past few years, have been just steadfastly following the NBA belt. And what is the NBA belt? For those of you who don't know, It's basically a championship belt that last year's champion comes into the season with, and every night it's a title defense. So the Denver Nuggets come into the season with the championship belt, and they, on opening night, let's look at their schedule. On opening night, will defend against the Los Angeles Lakers. If the Lakers beat the Nuggets on opening night, the Lakers are the NBA belt champions, and then they have to defend it the next night. And it goes on and on and on throughout the course of the season. It's a fun way to keep up with the NBA as a whole. I love it. I tweet it out. I tweet it out with wrestling gifs. Some people are annoyed by it. I love it because I love it, and it's my Twitter feed. I get to do what I want with it. So I hope you follow along with the NBA belt with me all season long, because that's going to be fun. All right, up next, we'll get into the Kristaps Porzingis injury and questions about the Lakers rivalry. We'll do that next. First, today's show brought to you by Birddogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA. You're going to find there some amazing looking shorts. Now, here on the podcast, especially on the YouTube podcast, I'm supposed to be showing you how Birddogs stretch khaki shorts fit slimmer through the thigh and give you a truly sculpted look. I'm supposed to show you how they fit really well, look great because they're not made of stiff, restricting cotton. I'm supposed to be showing you all this cool stuff about Birddogs, but I can't because the 14-year-old boy in the house has stolen my Birddogs. He is now wearing my Birddogs. So first things first, if the 14-year-old is stealing my stuff, that means 14-year-olds think this looks cool. So you know that it's fashionable. It's stylish. He's not going to wear dorky shorts, right? Dorky dad shorts. No. So the Birddogs have, with their cloud knit fabric, it looks just like khaki, but it stretches. So you get that slimmer fit. You can move. It's got that anti-stink sweat wicking fabric. Keeps you cool and dry all day long. You can put your Birddogs on in the morning. I would if I could do it, if I had them around, but I don't because they've been ripped off. I could jump in my pool, swim around for a bit, jump out, dry off, and then head to the golf course, head to a meeting. They look nice. They are meant to be versatile, and they are super, super cool. You also get a free tech hat when you go to Locked On NBA, birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA, or you enter the promo code LockedOnNBA. The hat was also stolen, by the way. I have to find it. I have to get it back. But you know how teenagers are. But that's how good this stuff looks. That's how good this stuff feels. It's in demand. So I'm going to have to go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA to buy my own, to buy more. And I'll get my own hat again. So it's birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA. Promo code LockedOnNBA for that free white tech hat. Let me tell you, you will not want to take your Birddogs off. I promise you that. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week. Again, going to do that again next week. I think like 2-3 more weeks, and that's it. Back to 5 days a week. So make sure you are subscribed. Going to get you full coverage. Media Day will be coming up before you know it. It's like a month and a week away. So 5 weeks away. That season is coming up, man. That season is going to be here soon. So make sure you're subscribed to get the most Celtics podcasting content anywhere. No one is matching this output. So check it out every day. Subscribe everywhere. Delon, is Kristaps Porzingis' injury going to affect his start of the regular season? The Celtics say no. The Celtics say he'll be ready for the regular season. But it's not so much an injury per se. It's plantar fasciitis, and that's more of a potentially ongoing kind of thing. It's like tendinitis. It can go away, and it's stuff that I've been dealing with. I've never actually had the full-blown plantar fasciitis, but I've been dealing with all kinds of tendinitis for my entire life. You can feel great. You can have certain kind of wraps. You can have certain kinds of insoles for the plantar fasciitis. He should be okay. He's obviously not playing in FIBA, so my expectation is that he will be fine, but it's something to watch because you just don't know with that plantar fasciitis, especially with the big guy, 7'3", the way he plays, those guys just put a ton of torque on their legs, and because of the size of everything and how it spins, it's just so much more pressure. It's just it works the joints a little bit differently. So hopefully the Celtics are correct and it does not impact the start of the regular season. All right, Nick asks, I was curious about your thoughts on how the Celtics. Oh, no, let me go back. Let me go backwards because Maddie, I want to get to this first. Excited for the Christmas game with the Lakers. What do you think is the state of the Celtics-Lakers rivalry? And okay, so it's an interesting thing. It's actually funny. The Winning Time show on HBO, they're heading into 80s Celtics-Lakers. Lots of Celtics-Lakers content. You see Red Auerbach, you see Larry Bird, you see Magic and all those guys. And there's like some, I don't want to call it guerrilla marketing, but they're really invading Boston with like purple and gold 1980 champions billboards and stuff. They're really going hard in Boston to kind of almost like reignite the rivalry. What's the state of the Celtics-Lakers rivalry? I think when they play, there's a little extra juice to it. They're going to play on Christmas. That's going to be a little something extra. When that's on, I think ABC, they're going to run all their video packages of going back to Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain and heading into the 70s and Havlicek and all of the greats kind of back and forth. Obviously Bird and Magic, obviously Pierce, Garnett, Kobe. I think if there was a real legitimate chance of Celtics and Lakers happening in the finals, and it could be like they will bill it on Christmas as a potential finals preview because the Lakers could. It's not out of the question that they could make it. They're not. I don't think they will. I think they're in the middle of the pack in the West. But hey, LeBron, Anthony Davis, if they both stay healthy, who knows what can happen? The season, it's a long season. Who knows how it's going to go? But if it was more obvious, if it was more Lakers are clearly the number one team in the West, Boston's very clearly the number one team in the East. If there was that level of kind of collision course, I think we would see maybe a little bit more oomph. Rivalries now, it's interesting. I just don't know that this generation is as invested in the rivalry as people in my generation. I'm 50 years old. I grew up really, in the 80s. What makes the rivalry is you got to be playing each other. I think Boston Philly is kind of like more of a rivalry right now than Boston LA, even though Boston LA is always a little something extra and always going to be that rivalry until they are on that collision course on a regular basis. Unless there's a reason to dredge up that history, I just think there's just a little bit of shine that comes off of it. And like I said, because the league is pushing parity and because the league it's not pushing this kind of rivalry, I think it loses a little bit something. But if they are on that collision course, then I think there's a real possibility that can amp up again. So all of these rivalries ebb and flow. Like the Red Sox just played the Yankees, two teams that are kind of going nowhere. Boston, I don't know, maybe a wild card team, but two teams that are not expected to do much. What does that do? How much juice is behind that rivalry, right? If both teams are great, and like Boston could be great, but they've been disappointing as far as they went to the finals, lost. They went to the conference finals, lost. There are some question marks there. The Lakers, there are question marks there. Like it's not as defined. It's not Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. It's just not that defined. There's a bunch of good teams, so they're not going to dominate the conversation. Celtics Lakers like they have in the past. But who knows? Okay, let's get to Nick and his question about how the Celtics would operate in a potential expansion draft. who do you think they would protect, and what are some potential players they would hope to get in this kind of draft? Well, first of all, the expansion draft is not for the Celtics. So it's what the expansion. So let's pretend that this year is the year of expansion, and they expand to Seattle and Las Vegas. So each team would protect, 8 players and leave 4, and those teams would get like the top 2 picks in that year, that expansion year draft. So I think it's the top 8. So Boston would obviously protect their 5, and then you would go their starting 5 and their 3 bench guys. Would they protect Brogdon? Probably not, actually. So I would say they don't protect Brogdon. They might protect probably. Well, let's see. Let me actually think about this for a second, because it's their strategy. Would they protect Al Horford because he's older? Would that team waste the spot on an Al Horford, or would they see that as, hey, let's grab Al. He's productive as a mentor. We need that kind of mentor on our team. That could be a choice there. I think they protect Hauser. I think they protect off the bench. They might protect like Jordan Walsh, and they might protect. I don't know. Maybe they just protect Al Horford just because. And I don't think they protect Malcolm Brogdon. And because if that player isn't selected, he just stays there. So the thought process would be he makes $22.5 million. They're putting a roster together. I don't think they're going to want somebody that makes $22.5 million like Brogdon. I think they're going to go a different direction if there's a big money guy. So maybe you don't protect him and you just say, we're going to keep Al Horford and not take that gamble. We'll leave Brogdon unprotected, and you protect Horford and Hauser, and you keep Jordan Walsh as a potential steal in the second round draft. And then you protect your top 5. If you protect 7, I might even say leave Al Horford out there because there's a chance he might not go. But hey, it's possible a team would want an older mentor type, and because he's making a little bit less money, then maybe they would go for that. But those are the types of things that you would kind of consider in an expansion draft. Not just who do you want to protect, who can you leave unprotected in an effort to maybe pseudo protect that, because he's not going to get picked. So you almost protecting 9 because that guy's not going to get picked. And so that's why I would leave Brogdon unprotected. Here's a question about Al Horford. If the Celtics win this year, does Big Al ride off into the sunset? I'll answer that in just a minute. First, I want to thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Check out the Locked On NBA podcast. Me, Jake Madison, we got that show on Wednesdays. Rotating hosts all week long. So make sure you're checking that show out. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Watch it on YouTube. All right, let's get back into, I'm working on, sometimes the clicking thing doesn't work so well on the YouTube. If you're listening on the audio and you're like, John sounds confused, you should see my face as I click the wrong thing here on my video. All right, so before the break, Dustin asked, would Al retire if they won the championship, and would he become a coach? There's another question in there from Dustin. So I haven't gotten an indication from him if he ever wanted to become a coach. I don't know that he would. I'm going to guess that he probably would not. He seems to be pretty private. He stays pretty quiet. He's got a family. I don't think that he would want to be away from his family after playing. Like he's making a lot of sacrifices, and his family is always at the Garden. His family is very supportive, and they're always around. And, I feel like they're there for him for as long as he wants to play. I don't know if the itch will come for him to coach, but he's made a lot of money. He's made a lot of money. In fact, I just saw that he's the number one highest paid international player in NBA history. So people forget he's from the Dominican. So I think maybe he goes back home and he coaches. Maybe he coaches like the Dominican national team or something like that and wants to develop the basketball there. I can totally see that. I can totally see him being like living on a mansion in the DR and like having a just awesome place on the water and kind of coaching up the talent that's in the Dominican Republic, because there's a lot of talent there, and having an NBA legend like him just being around to kind of coach, but not take him like NBA level, So if he's on his island and I'm going to go to work, I'm going to go and coach and like I do all my stuff with the kids and all that stuff, but I'm going to go to work, keep myself occupied. Then I get to come back home. It's not like he's coaching, I don't know, the Atlanta Hawks, go back to Atlanta, and then he's on the road for 90, 100 games a year. So I don't think that's going to be the case, but we'll see. I think as far as him retiring, I don't know that like we like to think of the retire on top and go out on top. I don't know that is something that players really think of we like the story. I like the story. You like the story, but he's a professional. And if he's got if the Celtics win a ring this upcoming season, he might be like, let's roll the dice. Let's try to get one more here. So I don't know. I don't think that he retires and like quote unquote ends on top. So many people like they love that, but in the end, it doesn't matter. How many players do we revere and you forget that they ended their careers like, oh yeah, like Hakeem Olajuwon ended his career in Toronto and Patrick Ewing was on the Sonics. And it's like, no, like just they're going to play. I'm never going to tell a player to stop playing, because once you stop, it's hard to get back into it. And it's just, I don't know. You just don't want to have that. You don't want to have that regret. You want to keep playing. So, all right, let's get into some of the fun questions. I usually save the third segment for some fun questions. And let's get into the fun, rapid fire fun. Andrew, have you had any time to work on your game this summer? Have you added anything to your podcasting game that we should watch for this season? Well, I haven't worked on my game necessarily this summer, although I kind of have, because I've gotten into some youth coaching. So I'm coaching like 11 and 12-year-olds and getting them into some of the basics and some of the more advanced, like, depending on the skill level, some kids are looking for more kind of basic, just fine tune a jump shot. Let's get the guide hand off the ball. And some kids are working on strengthening their offhands and working on strengthening their their dribble game. And some kids have the ability to really make some high level stuff. So I'm trying to teach some tricks of the trade. So because I'm in that and I'm doing all the drills with the kids, I'm sort of kind of working on my game as well, but I'm not specifically working on my game for any particular reason other than I'm coaching. As far as the podcasting game, I said this last season because I moved into a new house. I am planning on building a new podcast studio. So one thing that I'm going to be adding to the podcasting game, and I am actually like starting to plan it out. I had this behind me. Obviously, I'm not in the practice facility. People watching on YouTube, it looks like I'm in the practice facility because it's a photo that I've taken. But I took this photo, I think on maybe it was draft night, and it was late. And I was just walking around like, oh, let me just snap a picture here because nobody's here. And it's a nice kind of backdrop. But the green screen has worked out so well for me that I kind of put other projects ahead of building my podcast studio. So I will be building a podcast studio hopefully soon. So that'll be a way to up my podcasting game. Optimus Prime. Hey, Optimus Prime sending in a a message. In a past podcast, you mentioned you love going to New Orleans when the Celtics are playing the Pelicans. If you had to pick a second city you would like to visit when the Celtics are in town, what city would it be and why? I'm going to go with New York City because I used to live there and it's a fun city. There's tons and tons and tons to do. I have friends there, so I would be very happy to go back and catch up with some people in New York City. But even if I couldn't, there are so many places to go, so many things to do that I can hop on a train. I know where I'm going, and like I don't have to rent a car or anything like that. So when the Celtics, if they're playing the Knicks in a playoff series or they play the Nets, really cool because then I get to kind of zip around town and have some fun in a place that I'm very comfortable in, and it's a super, super fun city. But yeah, New Orleans is my absolute favorite. New Orleans is just such a fun vibe. I love it. Jack says, do you believe in second chances? Because I do. Yes, I do believe in second chances. I believe in second chances when someone is sincere, when someone has learned from a mistake, and when someone has admitted their mistake from something minor to something major. I think there is always, not always, nothing, there are no absolutes. But I do think, and this is generally a life thing too. Basketball, life, whatever. If you are contrite, if you make, everybody's gonna make mistakes, right? Everybody's gonna screw up, and the length, the depth of which, to which you screw up, impacts how long you wait for that second chance. But it's possible. Now, I'm not just handing out second chances, if it was up to me at all, but second chances, I think, can be earned. If you make a mistake, all you can do every day is your best. You just try. If you try your best and you're trying not to screw people over, if you're really just trying to be your best every day, sometimes you're going to get it right. Sometimes you're going to get it wrong. When you get it wrong, the best thing you can do, the only thing you can do, in my opinion, is be like, look, I'm sorry. I tried. I got it wrong. I'm going to be better next time. And if you prove that you're better next time, then you deserve those next chances. If you screw up royally, if you make a big major mistake, you're going to have to prove that you've earned that second chance. But if you truly believe that you've made the mistake, if you truly admit to your error, and if you truly are working to make yourself a better person, and learn from your mistake and grow from your mistake, then I think there's redemption in just about anybody. So, yes, I do believe in second chances. Finally, Frank, speaking of second chances, I don't even know what that means. Locked On Celtics, anything is potable. Which is the better podcast and why? Well, obviously, the answer is Locked On Celtics, right? I mean, come on. Because this podcast has no J. King, and their podcast has J. King. So therefore, my podcast is better. Has John Karalis, not J. King. The right JK, not the wrong JK. The actual answer is whichever podcast you enjoy more. If you are a listener, a watcher of Locked On Celtics, and you say, I actually like anything that's potable better, then by all means, I'm very happy to be second to anything is potable, because as much as I like to joke about Jay, Jay is a good friend of mine, and I have a lot of respect for Jay and his hustle and his hard work. And I'm actually like happy that I think Jay and Sam Packard leaving was, I'm going to say, it was good because it gave us a second good podcast to listen to. So it's almost like a stock split. You have my podcast, you have their podcast. I think both of them are very good. And if you prefer to listen to theirs first and then mine, that's fine with me. I'm happy to be the second choice. That's whatever. That's cool. I love that they created something else good for Celtics fans. And that's the whole thing. Like, I honestly believe there's so much room for all of us to have a little slice of the pie. And I think that a lot of podcasts out there do a very good job. And we're putting out content, right? I compare it to cooking a lot because I grew up in the restaurant business and I feel like there's a parallel. If I'm cooking a certain kind of food and you don't want it or you don't feel like it that day, you go somewhere else. But it's a personal preference. If I'm cooking pizza and you don't like pizza, I don't know who doesn't like pizza, but if I'm cooking pizza and you don't like it, then you're not going to eat my pizza. If I'm cooking Greek food and you don't like Greek food, then you won't eat here. But it's a matter of personal preference. So wherever people are, I mean, you're listening. If you're still listening now, then really, wow, that's awesome. But the fact is, it's all personal preference. And whatever you like, go for it. If you like them better, then you're dead to me. So just know that. If you like them better, that's fine. It's super cool that there are so many good podcasts out there for Celtics fans because it's fun being a Celtics fan. It's fun watching this team, as frustrating as they are. It's good to get as many perspectives on this team as possible. And this way, maybe you hear something from somebody that maybe is different. And who knows? Maybe I'm right. Maybe they're right. And you go from there. So thank you, Frank. Thanks to Jay and Sam. We'll be podcasting together again, I'm sure, soon, doing our usual crossover stuff. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Celtics. Listen to us first and only Locked On Celtics. Everything I just said is a joke. Only listen to Locked On Celtics. Throw all your other podcasts away in the trash. Locked On Celtics on video here on YouTube. Watch the show. If become an everyday or be here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday for now, then every Monday through Friday when the Celtics season kicks back in. And then I would love it if you share the podcast, spread the word, tell your friends that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.